ॐ भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमः चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। ॐ ज्ञानातिमन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमस्ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविस्तवितविक्रमपदकृते श्रीगिरिराजाय स्वामिने सुभद्रधरास्पृहाय भक्तिविश्चात्मजाय। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविस्तवितवे श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिने नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे कालिदासं गायत्री गुरुं कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदेवतारणम्। All right, so we are on chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation. So we are now going to discuss about 3 types of happiness. Text 36. Sukham tvidanim trividham shinu me bharatarshava abhyasa dharamati yatra dukhantam cha nikachati. O best of Bharatas, now please hear from me about the 3 kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress. Therefore, a conditioned soul tries to enjoy material happiness again and again. Thus he chews the chewed, but sometimes in the course of such enjoyment, he becomes relieved from material entanglement by association with a great soul. In other words, a conditioned soul is always engaged in some type of sense gratification. But when he understands by good association that it is only a repetition of the same thing, and he's awakened to his real Krishna consciousness, he's sometimes relieved from such repetitive so-called happiness. Text 37. Yattad agre vishamiva pariname mrityopanam mritopamam tat sukham sadvikam pruktam atma buddhi prasadajam. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. In the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the regulations and come to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar and he enjoys life. Text 38. So text 36 saying that it's no use trying for happiness in this material world. We should transcend happiness and distress. So how to do it? It is by practicing sadhana. So this sadhana is the beginning like poison, but in the end it is nectar. So why? Because it awakens one to self-realization. So we understand who we are. We are not this body. Vishayendriya samyoga yattada agre mritupamam parinami vishamiva tad sukham rajasam smritam. That happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with the objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion. A young man and young woman meet, and the senses draw the young man to see her, to kiss, touch, and to have sexual intercourse. In the beginning, this may be very pleasing to the senses, but at the end or after some time, it becomes just like poison. They are separated, or there is divorce, there is lamentation, there is sorrow, etc. Such happiness is always in the mood of passion. Happiness derived from a combination of the senses and the sense objects is always a cause of distress and should be avoided by all means. Happiness derived from a combination of the senses and the sense objects is always a cause of distress and should be avoided by all means. You know, just like we are sick and we know we should have a simple diet, right? Your khichdi, your soup, right? And suddenly a plate of pakora comes in front of you, right? All fried pakora. I mean, it happened to me, that's why I'm saying it. Then I thought, oh my God, everything will get clogged again if I have my pakora, my samosa, my this. So I say, thank you very much, Jagannath. Next time, don't forget me. I do want my pakora, but not now, right? I just remembered how I became sick now. You know, I had what I was not supposed to have, right? So I thought I have to pay the price for it 1 whole week. So better, just stay when the proper season comes. Enjoyment comes in the right season. If you have enjoyment in the wrong season, you're gone. Suffering is too much, right? My God, how many times we have to tell ourselves this simple truth, right? I don't have cucumber now. I don't have plain rice now. I don't have dahi now, right? It's cold season. Spice everything up. Okay. Yeah, like I notice with myself, if I'm cooking, I'm fine. As soon as somebody invites me or I have to have something else, and it's all displayed, it's all displayed in front of you. That's when the test of whether you have sense control happens. And if you fall sick, failed, didn't control the senses. The sense object is offering itself to you. Text 39. Yadagre chanu bandhe cha sukham mohanam atmanaha nidralasya pramadotham tattamasam udaharitam. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. Purport: one who takes pleasure in laziness and in sleep is certainly in the mode of darkness, ignorance, and one who has no idea how to act and how not to act is also in the mode of ignorance. For the person in the mode of ignorance, everything is illusion. There is no happiness either in the beginning or at the end. For the person in passion, there might be some kind of ephemeral happiness, in the beginning and at the end distress. But for the person in the mode of ignorance, there is only distress both in the beginning and at the end. You know, this how to act, how not to act. You know, education is such an important thing. You know, like educating a child. You know, just like now, you know, he's invited to the devotee's house. So we're having prasad and this child. So this child was sitting, you know, at the table, and that she was, but where she was, it was like a very nice cushion, you know, it was like a sofa, a very nice cushion. So the father came, and and then the child, what was he doing? What was she doing? She was eating, and so her hand is all dirty and oily. Guess what? What was she doing? She was touching the cushion, right? So immediately the father said, "Do not touch your hands." And I was so happy to hear a parent telling child, "Do not touch your hands in the cushion with your hands." Because here in the temple, I see the devotees, they do anything. You know, they come in the temple, they come in our seminar halls, they will take the plate of prasadam and they will just put it and on anyway, and they've spoiled so many nice chairs. So in front of my eyes, I see that simple father telling that child, I don't know how old she is, 6 years old or something, told that child, "Do not take your dirty hand and touch this cushion." And I thought, this is being civilized. So one who has no idea how to act and how not to act is also in the mode of ignorance. So the child is in the mode of ignorance, doesn't know that if she eats with that oily hand, juta hand, she's touching, you know, high class quality cushion, you know, they're spoiling the parents' house, the host house. So therefore, to know how to act and how not to act is important on all spheres of life. Okay, Mala, please read.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Text 40. न तद् अस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्त्वं प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तं यद् एभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः. Translation: There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord here summarizes the total influence of the three modes of material nature all over the universe.
Yeah, so this is so pathetic. There is no being existing either here among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. Each and everybody is under this tamogun, rajagun, sattvagun, and now how it's acting on our happiness, our determination, and our understanding, and before that, our work, how we work, and what else, how our knowledge, right? What was that? Our knowledge and the worker. Is free from it. So that's why suddenly you don't know who does what. You didn't expect it, but suddenly, because suddenly mode of ignorance popped up, or mode of passion popped up. Or somebody who's in mode of passion and suddenly some goodness pops up. And then again goes back to the next mode, right? So this is what the material world is all about. Yeah, continue.
Text 41. Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha parantapa Karmani pravibhaktani Svabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Translation. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy.
You go.
Text 42. Shamodamastapa shaucham Shantir arjavameva cha Jnanam vijnanam astikyam Brahma karma svabhavajam. Translation. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
Yes, so for me now, judging by the symptom I just described to you, right? An incident. You know how a child is eating with both hands and just touching, the nice sofa, and the father says, you don't do this. So in which quality does the parent belong?
Goodness.
Goodness. Therefore, this person must be a
Brahmana.
Brahmin. But it's just a symptom. So, and cleanliness, right? Tocham, cleanliness. This is conscious of your hands are dirty. Your hands should know you should know where to keep your hands when your hands are dirty, right? Such a simple thing, but like I remember this child, just a child. So we were together outside. Maybe I've said it before. We're together outside, so we were speak, good with children, but somehow that child was sitting next to me, boy, and so we were touching the earth, because we were sitting like in a place where there was earth. We were outside. And then, okay, it was time for prasad. And I said, all right, now for prasad. So this child got up and said, now I must go and wash my hands. He was just a toddler practically. Then I thought, oh my God, whose son is this? Right? Whose son is this? I must go and wash my hands. Right? Text 43. Anupama Madhvi.
Hare Krishna. Shauryam tejo dhridirdakshyam yuddhe chapi apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha shatram karma swabhavajam. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaishyakarma Swabhavajam Paricharya Atmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras, there are labor and service to others.
Yeah, so the qualities described here. So, and now when it comes to Brahman and Kshatriya, the qualities are described. And for the Vaishyas and the Shudra, their work is described. So cow protection and business. Whereas the others, there is no specific mention of what's their work. But here, we expected that qualities are less prominent in them. I continue.
स्वे स्वे कर्मणि अभिरतः संसिद्धिं लभते नरः स्वकर्मानिरतः सिद्धिं यथा विन्दति तत्क्षणम्. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वम् इदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तम् अभया अर्च्या सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Purport. As stated in the 15th chapter, all living beings are fragmental parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Supreme Lord is the beginning of all living entities. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha. The Supreme Lord is therefore the beginning of life of every living entity. And as stated in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, by his two energies, his external energy and internal energy, is all pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is the background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion, as Paramatma, is situated everywhere. He is the super soul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. That is recommended in this verse. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, and by the results of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12.7, Tesham aham samudhrita. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection.
So now this is vital, these verses here. So Krishna is speaking about the three gunas and how everybody all over the universe, we are under the grip of those gunas. So we can't escape. So now, because of these gunas, so the system of varnashram is a system of where to organize people according to these three gunas, right? So the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, the Shudras. We have read earlier. Where is it? Which chapter, which text?
You're talking about Chaturvarnam Maya Shishtam, that one.
Yes. Which chapter, which verse?
Is in the fourth chapter. I may be mistaken.
Yeah. Chaturvarnam Maya Shishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagashah, right? So now the details of this Varna is given here. So the qualities of each is described. What do they do? So now Krishna is saying, by following these qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. All right. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings, because we are all, the Jiva has come from the Supreme Lord. And this Jiva, due to roaming, wandering in this material world, has acquired different percentage of these gunas. But the fact is that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Right? Even though the gunas are affecting us, but at the end of the day, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So, Krishna is saying, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It doesn't matter who we are. The Supreme Lord is therefore the beginning of life of every living being, and Janmari Asyayataha. So the Supreme Lord has two energies, the external and the internal energy, and these are all pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is a background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portions, Paramatma is situated everywhere. So devotees, generally devotees, they worship the Supreme Lord. How?
With the internal energy of the Lord.
So how does this manifest it? Like all of you are devotees here. So how are you worshipping the Supreme Lord with his internal energy? How are you doing that?
Through Radharani, we are praying to Radharani to give us service. Radharani is the internal energy.
In your day-to-day life, by following his qualities of work, everyone can become perfect. So in your day-to-day work, life, how are you engaging in Radharani's service?
By chanting, by worshipping his form, Archana, by offering him prasadam. So, I mean, thinking about him, Manmana Madbhakto Madhya Jivan.
You clean your house, you think this is Radharani's house, right? Radharani, Lakshmi Devi stays where your house is clean, right? That's what we say. Your house is dirty, Lakshmi Devi goes away, right? That's what he says. We don't take bath, then ghosts easily attack us, right? So taking bath, lighting the lamp, offering bhoga, chanting, bowing down, right? Bowing down the Supreme Lord, performing this achaman after taking bath, doing this achaman. So this is how the Supreme Lord is worshipping his internal energy. So even when you're working, you're using your earnings, not in sinful activities, but in proper activities that will promote Krishna's mission. Right? Taking care of your children and driving them on the proper path. This is worshipping the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. Right? So if you give your child money, you say, go and eat chicken, then this is the external energy. But if you give your child money and you say, if you are having even one juice, please think of Krishna. Rasoham api, Rasoham, what's that? Api, Kunteya?
Prabhasmi Shachi Surya, Pranava Sarva.
Yeah. You teach all these shlokas to your children, so you say if you get any drink, remember Krishna, Rasoham. Right? Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with internal energy. This external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. How is that? Enjoyment is natural, right? I'm not going to deny that I like the samosa. I like this, I like this. I'm not going to deny it, 100%, right? But if those seven is not offered to Krishna. I'm not interested. Right? I know these samosas have been cooked by the best of cooks, but that cook is not a Vaishnava and doesn't offer it to Krishna. I'm not going to eat. Right? So enjoyment is there. Right? And so we are not denying this. So not to offer to Krishna is a perverted reflection of enjoyment. Are you able to get this? Mala, you understand this? Enjoyment is there, it's undeniable. But to take enjoyment and refuse to give the source of enjoyment to Krishna, this is the external energy. Perverted reflection of internal energy. Are you able to understand that? Like deliberately, no, you're not going to give to Krishna. Why? The mood is not, see, the samosa in itself is of no value. What is of value is the enjoyment that we get from eating that samosa. Right? It's a source of enjoyment. Why is it that people are going crazy? How many recipes you give them, still they are not satisfied. They want more and more and more and more recipes. However many you want to give them, they are ready to take. Why? They are looking for enjoyment. Either in spending time in the kitchen, the people like to cook, or they want to taste enjoyment. So therefore, the object itself is neutral. It's the spirit of enjoyment that is determining whether you are in internal energy or you are in external energy. So, no, I'm not going to offer to Krishna. This is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. Just think about it if you're able to get it. The external energy is a background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion of Paramatma, is situated everywhere. He is the super soul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everyone. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. So even though we may be in this material world, if I perform my duty to satisfy Krishna, this is the perfection of his work. Everyone should think that he's engaged in a particular type of occupation, like Rishikesh, the master of the senses. So let's say I'm a singer. Which senses of the body am I using? I'm a singer.
Speech.
Well, the voice. The organ
Voice.
is the voice, right? The voice box, right? So this organ, if I see that this organ is related to Rishikesh, this organ doesn't belong to me. Everybody knows, just like I couldn't speak just a few minutes back. So I have to take something, right? Meaning that anytime my throat stop functioning, because the throat doesn't belong to me, right? Who does it belong to? This vocal cord in the whole box. Who does it belong to?
Krishna.
Belongs to Rishikesh. The original voice box belongs to Rishikesh. What's the meaning of Rishikesh? Rishik Isha.
Master of the senses.
Rishik Isha.
Right, so
Rishik is what?
senses, Mataji?
Yeah, senses. All right, we have studied that in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. I told us. Isha, the master, the controller of the senses. So I always give that example. Everybody has a mobile, right? That mobile is useless if there is no network, right? Meaning the main mobile, this is only an instrument to catch the network, the electromagnetic wave. All right. So the electromagnetic wave is coming from somewhere else. It's being described here. Material energy, external energy, just a background. And the Supreme Lord is all pervading in this background. Right? So Rishikesh is interfacing between this external energy and the user. Now, use the word user, just see. Now we're becoming more computer, right? User. I am using the voice box of Rishikesh. When Rishikesh let me, connect, right, to the network, when Rishikesh allows me to connect, then my voice is able to function. So Prabhupada is saying that everyone should sing. If you're a singer and you lose your voice, to sing and you lose your voice. So therefore, whatever work we may be doing, we should know that even my brain, let's say I'm a mathematician or I'm an accountant, whatever it may be, if this brain is not wired to Rishikesh, I cannot use that particular sense. Right? So everyone should think that he's engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesh. Therefore, and by the result, the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna should be worshipped. Right? Whatever work we may be doing, because Rishikesh is allowing me to function, to allow my senses to function. So when I get a result from it, immediately I should offer to Rishikesh. Secret here is being revealed. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, this is Aham Samudhata. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. in whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, will achieve the highest perfection. So the Brahmana is using the voice, the Shudras also using the voice, right? The Brahmana is using the voice to utter the Vedic hymns. The Shudra is using the voice as a singer. But if both of them, they realize and understand that my voice box is connected to Rishikesh. And I worship Rishikesh through the result of my work, then we become perfect. Text 47, Ashwini.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushkitat swabhava niyatam karma purvannapnoti kilbisham. Translation. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties described, duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One's occupational duty is prescribed in Bhagavad Gita. As already discussed in previous verses, the duties of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra are prescribed according to their particular modes of life. One should not imitate another's duty. A man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Shudras should not artificially claim to be a Brahmana, although he may have been born into a Brahmana family. In this way, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in the service of the Supreme Lord. The occupational duty of a Brahmana is certainly in a mode of goodness. But if person is not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupational duty of a Brahmana. For a Kshatriya or administrator, there are so many abominable things. A Kshatriya has to be violent to kill his enemies. And sometimes Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs. But a Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duty of Brahmana.
Yeah, you have to take this paragraph by paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very difficult subject. It's not understood and which has created a lot of political division, social division, and major chaos and mess in the entire world. So, I'm born in a Brahmana family, Prabhupada is saying, but I'm not interested to study the Vedas. I'm not interested in taking bath, 2 to 3 times in a day and do the deity worship, right? I am interested in something else. So Prabhupada is saying that whatever interests you, better you do that, but don't pretend to be a Brahmana. You do that because the Brahmana will achieve perfection by doing his Brahminical duty, and the other person will attain perfection by doing his own duty. Then Prabhupada is saying that we should not imitate the occupation of a Brahmana. For example, a Kshatriya, like Yudhishthira Maharaj. He is on the battlefield, right? He's on the battlefield. And here Prabhupada is saying that sometimes a Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs. But a Brahmana, a Kshatriya cannot say, no, no, no. Remember the whole story? Yudhishthira said, I'm not going to speak the lie. Right? So he was becoming Brahmana. So he was condemned. Right? If without hesitation, right? See this war against material nature cannot be won head on. We should be aware of this. We cannot have a head-on collision with material nature. Material nature is very powerful. It will react on us. It has to be won by what the way Krishna maneuvered everything. Because material nature is very cunning, very violent, very yeah, violent, cunning. Ignorance and passion is more prominent than the mode of goodness. Therefore, Krishna made Arjuna, Pandavas win through different maneuvers. For example, well, now here about, this speaking the lie, it was already known that Dronacharya cannot be killed. It was already known. Bhishma cannot be killed, Dronacharya cannot be killed. It's already known. There's a way to kill Dronacharya. And this Dronacharya, because he was invincible, as I said, material nature is very cunning. When Dronacharya was losing the battle against Abhimanyu, one young boy trained by Krishna, when he was losing the battle against, not himself, but his party, was losing the battle against Abhimanyu, resorted to unfair means. All right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine Dronacharya, who is the military guru? What is his status? The military guru. He broke the rules of warfare. So who was heading the whole party? The Dronacharya. All right. So that's why I'm saying, even someone like Dronacharya, when he gets overwhelmed by passion, right? Like passion and ignorance, he loses his wisdom. All right. He loses his wisdom. And he led the entire party to break the rules of Kshatriya warfare. So therefore, counterpart has to come to him. So how was he to be killed? Again, by the same method. He broke the rule of Kshatriya. Therefore, the rule of Kshatriya had to be circumvent, right? Because you can't meet him head on. He is somebody who loses the wisdom, creates such a situation that he wins over his enemy. So therefore, Krishna told Yudhishthira, there is only one way that you can overcome Dronacharya. You have to touch his weak point. His weak point is Ashvatthama, right? His weak point is Ashvatthama. And who will kill him? Who was destined to kill him? Drishtadyumna. So finally, the law of nature had to win over the law of karma. The law of karma had to win over the action done impelled by the three gunas. Are you able to follow this? Are you able to follow this? All right. So therefore here, Prabhupada is saying, if you're a Kshatriya administrator, you have to be violent, you have to kill your enemy. So a Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs. But the Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duties of a Brahmana. One should act to satisfy the Supreme Lord. For example, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He was hesitating to fight the other party. But if such fighting is performed for the sake of Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, there need be no fear of degradation. In the business fields, also sometimes a merchant has to tell so many lies to make a profit. If he doesn't do so, there can be no profit. Sometimes a merchant says, oh, my dear customer, for you are making no profit. But one should know that without profit, the merchant cannot exist. Therefore, it should be taken as a simple lie if a merchant says that he's not making a profit. But the merchant should not think that because he's engaged in an occupation in which the telling of lies is compulsory, he should give up his profession and pursue the profession of a Brahmana. That is not recommended. Why? Why is not recommended?
Because he has the propensity of a merchant, he will not be able to operate as a Brahmana. He will not be able to.
What will he do? He's a Vaishya, he's trying to do the work of a Brahmana. What will he do?
He will start earning money as a Brahmana. That is what he will end up doing.
Correct. He will do business. This is what's going on in the whole world right now. Education has become huge business, right? One of the business, if you want to earn money, you open a school, right? And you put out of work all the Brahmanas, isn't it? Everybody knows we're trying to teach children, right? Are we able to do it? No, because the children have been captured by the schools. So this is a huge pretense. This education. It's a huge pretense.
So, Mataji, for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, this whole, because they have to deal with the material energy so much. So it is purification and perfection is such a big challenge then.
Yeah, so honestly, if you're a businessman, you do your own work of trading and farming. You don't enter the field of education, you make education which is meant for the Brahmanas. All right. So then what did they do? What did they do? Everybody knows, not everybody has the brain to study, right? Everybody knows this. But what will they do? The child is failing, again you make him pass, again he's failing, again you make him pass. You make money. something so simple. Everybody knows if you want to learn cooking, or this Griha Vidya, right? You learn from your mother, your grandmother. Why do you have to go to college and earn a degree? Why? Merchants have made it become education. Isn't it? I'm giving one example here. Is not recommended. Whether one is a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Shudra doesn't matter. If he serves by his work, the Supreme Person Godhead. Even Brahmanas who perform different types of sacrifice, sometimes must kill animals, because sometimes animals are sacrificed in such ceremonies. Similarly, if a Kshatriya engaged in his own occupation kills an enemy, there is no sin incurred. In the third chapter, these matters have been clearly and elaborately explained. Every man should work for the purpose of yajna or for Vishnu, the Supreme Personality. Anything done for personal sense gratification is a cause of bondage. The conclusion that everyone should be engaged according to the particular mode of nature he has acquired and should decide to work only to serve the supreme cause of the supreme law. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
Mataji, that
Yeah.
means everybody should work as per their own dharma qualities, and then how do they worship? Like Vaishya who is lying and all. So he said here that he will not be affected with sinful reaction of that lying.
Yes, if he makes only the margin prescribed for him.
So
All right. He
he
makes
is
his
not
profit.
educated. How much
Yeah, there is a margin. There's a margin how much profit a businessman is allowed. 5%, 10%, 15% maybe.
oh, that also must be given in Shastras, right?
Yes, it's given.
We
In the
don't have
Vaishya,
access to that.
Vaishya, Prabhupada mentioned it, I forgot. He spoke about that margin.
Oh.
And how much a Vaishya, what margin a Vaishya is allowed. But even then in law also, right? In law, legally, right? It's how much, what margin somebody, Now what happens, it's only a question of competition. So they go up and down, up and down. Then they speak of the demand. If the demand is more, then the cost goes high.
Economics, yeah. But now there is no law as such. I mean, there is 200, 300% margin.
So that's why this is Kali Yuga. That's why people become poor and poor and poor. They cannot even live in a house. They cannot even afford having more than 1 or 2 children. That's what's happening.
Mataji, how is the guna decided? So how, because usually the children will go to school, and then whilst they are pursuing their education, then they will decide that this is what they want to study, and this is the occupation they want to do. So how is that is not the way to
Intellectual work, philosophy, spiritual pursuit. This is what will interest naturally a Brahmana. Right? Then administration, politics, management. Now everybody's a manager. What are you studying? Business management. Right? Everybody's a manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You're going to run the country, right? You're going to run the country, and then what do you like to do? Right? A Bollywood, Hollywood actor becomes prime minister, right? He's got the brain of a Hollywood, Bollywood. Or if those who have a tendency for sinful activities, they become heads of state. What will they do? They will make the people become sinful like them.
Mm.
Mataji, I heard that in some class only that whoever is working for someone, like you have a boss in an institution or in a home or wherever, factory, wherever, that person is a Shudra. Is that correct?
So the system of Varnashram is that the Brahmanas, they're dependent on charity, right? And because the Brahmanas are so few,
I'll come on Monday.
sorry, somebody was saying something.
So Mataji, you were explaining that, I heard in a class that whoever works, like for example, I work in a hospital, so the I get wages in hospital, so I'm a Shudra.
So the Brahmanas, so they will depend on charity. They depend on charity. And because there's so few Brahmanas, so to depend on charity is easy because people value them, appreciate them. And there was this exchange. They are giving knowledge and they're maintained by the society. All right. The Kshatriyas, they will give taxation. They will give land and they will give taxation. Then the Vaishyas, these are all self-employed, you could say. Then the Vaishyas, they will do trading, right? They will do trading, farming. And they will employ the, yeah, Anupama. So they would employ the workers, right? But now, because education has become a business, therefore everybody is earning. Education has made everybody become a worker. In India, even 10 years ago, if you meet somebody, what do you do? They will say, I'm self-employed. Now everybody's looking for a job. Self-employed because now, again, Narad Muni described in 5th canto. If you cannot find work, you can't earn from being a Brahmana, then you can do some business. You can earn by doing some business. But he cannot do the work of a Kshatriya, unless it is political advisor, that is different thing. But he cannot become violent and do the work of a Kshatriya, nor should he do the work of a Shudra, being dependent on the mercy of others. But as I'm saying, Kali Yuga, everything is topsy-turvy. So therefore, everybody is employed. Traditionally, Vedic system is Ayurveda, right? Ayurveda, it's a family, it's a clan. The doctors there, it's a clan. In the family, everybody, the grandmother knows, the servant knows, right? Everybody knows Ayurveda. And I even heard that when the Brahmanas will go door to door, they also know all remedies. When people are sick, they will immediately give the ilaj. And anyway, there were not so many diseases, there were no cancer, there were no tuberculosis, no this one, no that one. Mental problem. So whatever situation we are in right now, these are all the products of Kali Yuga. And we have to go along with it. We have to go along with it. And here Krishna is saying that doesn't matter what is your occupation in the present scenario. Doesn't matter. You simply have to engage the fruits of your work in Krishna's service. And remember that whatever work I am doing, this is Rishikesh. I'm using my hands, my legs. Whatever, this is all Rishikesh. Is it clear? Is it clear? If we are able to understand this, there's going to be no problem in the whole Varnashram understanding. Nobody will envy another one. So it is Varnashram Dharma. So the Kshatriya doesn't have to say, let me become a Brahmana, then I can go back home, back to Burma. The Shudra doesn't have to say, let me become a Brahmana, then I go back home, back to Burma. Or the women don't have to say, let me become a man and then become a Brahmana, and then I can go back home, back to Godhead. No. Do your own work. This section is very important. We should stop here. We've done way beyond time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.